Hello my friends, welcome to Sprint 3. Congratulations on finishing the previous sprint, and this sprint is a good one, everyone. This is the sprint where we start working on JavaScript. So I talked about this a little bit last week. JavaScript is, if we return to our birthday card analogy, or that piece of paper analogy that I had last week, I think I used this. So let's have a little look-see in here. Let's imagine that this is one of those interactive little birthday cards that you get that's always really annoying. When you open it up, it's going to play some sound. It's going to be like... So that's the JavaScript. The JavaScript is making that happen. If you remember from last week, the HTML is dictating the kind of words that you're seeing on the page. The CSS is dictating their styling, their spacing, the font, all of that kind of stuff. The JavaScript is dictating the interactive elements of what it is that you're working with. So what does this mean? This means that you are going to be able to use JavaScript to manipulate the DOM, which we covered last week in the workshop video. So you're going to be able to write JavaScript functions, which can dive into the HTML DOM and do various things to it. You can manipulate the CSS. JavaScript can do a lot of things. It's a very versatile language. And this week you're going to be doing a big, juicy course on JavaScript. Now, this stuff, if you haven't worked with languages like JavaScript before, JavaScript is it's an object-oriented language. Don't worry too much about what that means right now, but what you need to know is that it is functionally quite different from writing HTML and CSS. So I would say that prepare yourself for the fact that you might feel quite frustrated while you're doing this. If you don't have experience writing in languages like this before, it's tricky. It's tricky stuff. Like, learning this stuff is hard. So I would say when you feel yourself being challenged by that, remember that it is important not to engage in too much self-criticism. Be patient with yourself when you're learning this stuff. Don't freak out when you don't understand it straight away. Give yourself the time, give yourself breaks away from the screen. That is very important. I'm going to cover some of the kind of functional elements of how to use JavaScript in the workshop video, which you can watch after this. And the only other thing I want to talk about while I'm here is a little bit of the core content that we're covering for this week. I want to kind of talk a little bit about the difference between IQ and EQ. So I'm not going to dive too deep into this, but there's something I think people could be a little bit weird about the fact that we spend so much time focusing on the kind of emotional sides of the curriculum here. They can think it's kind of strange that in a school which is about programming, teaching you programming, we spend so much time focusing on the core skills, the softer kind of skill side of things. And there's a reason for that. And the reason for it is that we want you to be able to get a job once you finish here. And that's kind of one of Dev Academy's value propositions, is the fact that even if you go through a full computer science degree at university, a lot of the time you can come out the other end and still have difficulty getting employment. And one of the reasons why employers love our graduates so much from Dev Academy is that we do put attention, we do put focus and time into making sure that those, the core skills, the kind of emotional skills, the interpersonal skills, that you actually have practice working with those things as well. So the difference between IQ and EQ can make a really big difference when it comes time for the interview process. So let's imagine you have two candidates, candidate 1, candidate 2. So candidate 1 is a perfect technical fit. They know all of the technology, they understand all of the different kind of libraries that they're going to be working with. But the problem is candidate 1, this really good technological fit candidate, they're a deck. Like, I don't know how else to say it. They're not fun to work with. You can get a sense that they don't work well in a team. And then we've got candidate 2, whichever one I was holding before, candidate 2, who is not a perfect technical fit. They have some experience with the technologies, but they don't know exactly the ins and outs of the kind of stuff that the employer is going to be working with. But they are really good at working in a team. They're going to be a really good cultural fit in the organization, and their EQ, their kind of emotional intelligence, is really on point, and that's what's going to actually help them nail the interview and get through into the final, stages, or get the job, really, which is what it's all about. So I would say keep that kind of stuff in mind when you're engaging with the core content. Know that we are teaching you this stuff for a reason. It is going to be really beneficial if you do plan to go on and try and get a job after this through, in the industry. And that's really all I have to say. Dive into the JavaScript stuff now, watch the workshop video for this week, and I will see you very soon. Goodbye.